Hey everybody, this is Miss Stevens, and today we're going to be talking about using a layer mask in Adobe Photoshop. So in order to do this particular lesson, you will need a camera. That could be a phone camera or something a little fancier. And you're going to want to set up a spot that you want to photograph in with some models who are willing to run around and pose for you in different spots. And you're going to want to make sure that the photographs that you're taking that the camera person is not moving while you're taking them. So for example, the figures can move around the room in any way that they like, but you are doing your very best not to move while all of those are being taken. So the effect will be like they are either in fast forward or that there's many of them, and I like to call this the Multiplicity project. So once you have all of these pictures, we want to put them in one document so that all of the layers happen to be within this one file. So to do that, you go up to File and down to Scripts and over to Load Files into a Stack. And when you do that, it'll say, do you want to use a file or a folder? Really, either is fine. I'm going to choose File. I'm going to Browse. And then you go to wherever it is that your files are saved. And you can select more than one by holding Shift, or you can select them all if you prefer. I'm just going to select 3. And press Open. Press OK, and watch what happens. It's going to load into the file that we already have created, which is perfect. And now we want to check our DPI. So if you look at the window over here, this is being viewed at 33%. That means it's much larger than it appears in my computer. So if I go to Image, Image Size, and open this up, you can see right now this is set to about 16 by 20 with a 300 resolution. That's perfect. Anything larger than that is really going to be rough, and so long as your constrained proportions over here are linked, you can always change it if you wanted to, and I recommend keeping it a little bit bigger. The biggest you would want to do is 16 by 20, but you can go as small as 8 by 10 if you wish. I'm going to make it 20 just so you can see that the constrained proportions will link it, so you don't have to do any math. You also want to make sure it's still in inches. I'm going to press OK. And here we go. So I'm going to go back to this file so you can see what's going on. Today we're using something called a layer mask. And the layer mask is located in the very bottom corner. It's this whitish rectangle with the black area cut out of it. And what it is when you're on a photographic layer, here I am on IMG 0979 layer, and you know I am because it's gray. And if I click on the layer mask, it'll add this little white picture frame next to the photo. If I do that twice, it'll add a vector. Don't do that. However, what that means is now when I'm on this layer, get rid of this real quick so you can see. If I use a paintbrush, a black paintbrush will remove the thing, and a white paintbrush will put it back. So one more time, you can see that I'm on the layer mask. I have that white frame around it, and the difference is I'm on the photo right now, and I'm on the mask. The black paintbrush will remove it, and you can see it made a little mark on my layer mask. And if I decide, oops, I don't want that after all, the white will put it back. So it's infinitely better than an eraser tool because you can change it at any point that you want. It's also better than an eraser tool because you can make adjustments. So right now I'm on my layer mask. I'm going to show you that if I right click on my layer mask, I can disable it so you can see what the background originally was. Let me zoom in a little. But what I want you to see, it'll let me zoom in, is right here, I happen to miss a tiny portion of his belly. So if I didn't notice that initially when I was creating my layer mask, So long as I saved it as a PSD file, I can go back in using my white paintbrush, left bracket to make it smaller, and I could put it back. I could put it back a month from now, a week from now. In fact, I made this several years ago because I saved it as a PSD and because I used a layer mask. So it really is a really nice option to have. The other thing that's really cool about using a layer mask is you can use it in combination with some other tools. The tools that I'm going to recommend for you are your Lasso tools, which are third from the top, or your wand tools, your quick selection, or your magic wand. The magnetic lasso tool, which is this one with a little magnet symbol, you can basically click on any area with a strong contrast, and the computer will do its best to cling to the edge of the thing. I'm just going around slowly. And what's nice about it is if it's not picking up, so right here I have the green shirt and the green little mat in the background, I can click to kind of guide where I want the computer to go until it comes into a high contrast area again. And I definitely don't recommend trying to finish the whole figure at once. That doesn't typically work out too well. So you do an area that you like, and then once you start getting in a complicated zone, like where these feet are, I don't want to attempt to lose all my information here. I'm just going to go around. Start where I finished. You can see those marching ants are back. I want to make sure I'm on my layer mask. If I'm on my photo and I use a black paintbrush, all that's going to happen is I'm going to paint on my photo. I don't want that. So instead, make sure you're on your layer mask. Black in the front will remove it. A right bracket will make my brush bigger. And you can see I have my brush selected. And deselect to make it go away, or Command D is what I just did. And then you're good. So let's fast forward this a second. All right, and if you see that you accidentally deselected that selection that you did like, if you have your history up, which again is Window, History, it will remember everything that you did. So you can go back in time and just click to before it was deselected and grab your brush. And then you didn't lose any of that work. I love the layer mask, it's the best. All right, so I'm starting to have a pretty decent edge here. I got some issues I don't really love in this section, but right now I'm going to zoom out, Command minus minus on my Mac, or Control minus on a PC, and just get rid of all the stuff that I don't want. And here's why it's important that the camera didn't move when you were taking these pictures. You can see there's some shadows over here that are a little tricky, and some background information with in between the curls that are a little hard to do. If you kept your camera still, when you put the background layer back on, it should mostly kind of mix together with what should be there anyway, and you shouldn't have to stress too much. So here's one more tool for you. So we use the magnetic lasso. Underneath that is something called your wand, your quick selection or your magic wand. The quick selection will cling to large areas that are somewhat contrasting. Again, B for brush, I'm on my mask, same deal. And the magic wand will cling to areas of mostly solid color or value that you think you might want to get rid of. So just click, you can hold Shift to add to that selection. B for brush. And it's also a good idea to zoom out and make sure that you don't have any ghost images. So I have a little bit of a gray up here that I didn't get rid of. All right, so you can do this as many times as you want, with as many different layers as you want, and add it to the background. And if you needed to resize something, so for example, you see that Parker over here is kind of overlapping himself. So I have my move tool in the very tippy top here, and I have auto select selected. That's awesome because if you watch the layer bar, when I click on Declan over here, it'll hop to his layer. If I click on Parky, it'll hop to his layer, and it's an easy way when you have distinct edges of things to get to the right layer, so long as auto select is on. So I'm on Parker. I can check that by putting the eyeball on and off. And I'm going to resize him to be either a lot smaller or a lot larger. I haven't decided yet. So to do that, edit, transform, or in this case, free transform. And the bounding box pops up. Hold shift to keep it in proportion. And let me see what it looks like if I make him a little smaller. Kind of like that. I'm losing the shadows a little bit, so that I don't love, but I like that we are creating deeper space and a reason for you to look in the background. The other thing is I'm going to put him right here, and you can see right now little Parky in the background is overlapping this Parker in the foreground. So if you wanted to move him into the distance, you can grab that layer, this one right here, and hold it, click, and bring it downward until it is behind, at which point you can check any negative spaces that might be an issue or just scooch them over until it's no longer a problem. So I always recommend saving as a PSD file. That's the best way to make sure that you can still have options and move things around as you like or as you need. So in order to do that, to save this file, you're going to go File, Save As. Make sure that you've chosen Photoshop. And you'll notice all of your layers and all your layer mask will stay within the file. If you were done with the file and if you're ready to upload it to Google Classroom, or if you wanted to make it ready for the AP test, you can go File, Save As again, so that you don't override your file. But instead of choosing Photoshop, scooch down and choose JPEG. Press Save, and when you do, you'll notice that all of those layers compress into one small file.